Good morning and good evening. I'm remembering to say good evening as well now. I welcome back Carol Gilberti, CEO, founder of Mubius WomenTech Ventures. Welcome back, Carol.
Oh, thank you so much, Bee, for inviting me for this part two.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like we had too much to talk about, and I reflect on our first conversation, and you gave us such profound insight around your backstory, what's going on in Brazil, and I feel like today I'm keen to really kind of unpack women in tech. We were just having a quick chat then. What are the risks, what are the opportunities, what are you seeing, what's the facts? um with risks come opportunity, and so I was really keen to unpack, given your success and I guess lived experiences as well, and what you're seeing. I was keen to kind of just unpack that further with you, because it's like we were just talking about, it's almost like it's a moment in time right now where we can reshape the future. And I'm a big believer in calculated risks, not just risks for the sake of risk. So yeah, again, I'll hand it over to you, but I'd love to get your perspective and thoughts on what you're seeing happening right now and what you think that means for potentially the future.
Great. It's a great topic, and I think it's very important for us to bring into discussion because we have been seeing this as a threat. I mean, as women, we have always been looking for our own place, we have a saying in Brazil, it's like our own place in the sun, so we can shine on and and be seen and heard. It's an expression, and I guess that we're seeing more shadows right now, unfortunately. Things that were already a challenge have become even a bigger challenge, especially, like you said, women in tech, women in the STEM
Yeah,
segments, which are science, technology, engineering, mathematics. These are all areas, and this is globally. It's not just
yeah.
talking about Brazil. It's global, um, and it's it's a weird thing that we have been, the perspectives, at least not. I mean, today. I mean, the feeling. This is what we listen. The feeling that we have is that we're kind of going backwards because of how great leaders, well, they should be great leaders, but when I mean great leaders, they represent such big nations.
Mhm.
They're actually, it's a retrocess in the kind of things that we have been fighting for so much
Yeah.
and talking about it so much. So I see this new scenario as a much more challenging scenario,
Mm.
where it's going to be even more demanding for women in terms of positioning themselves, believing in themselves, and it's like making lemonade out of of a lemon, right? It's like
I'm loving all your quotes
this
and
is
faith, like, yeah, quotes and kind of terms. Like it does make sense, making a lemonade out of a lemon. Yeah. And the sun piece as well. Sorry, you keep going.
no, I mean, we do have to look at like that. If we don't, we're just going to succumb in to what people are saying and reverberate things that are not true.
Yeah.
So we just have to keep our sanity as women, and we have so much knowledge and experience in this world being so, left out, that we're just going to have to be stronger.
Mm.
And but we're just so good at that. And I just think that this generation, we're not going to be threatened by that. And changes are not made just by one, just one like point of view. We have different points of views, and we need to actually give attention to those that actually make sense,
Mm.
and just, I'm
Ignore the
not saying that
rest.
we need to forget about them, but just silence them for a while. Otherwise, we will be distracted. So it is a very challenging time
Mm.
for for us, for women, for the minorities that everybody talks about, all the groups that are not seen and not heard. But actually, my personal agenda is women. So I'm going to focus on that.
Yeah.
Uh, but yes, it's challenging. So I'm not sure how it is in Australia, how it is, how you perceive that. I mean, I know you guys are probably a bit ahead of us in terms
Yeah.
of the
I think
cultural
it,
side of that.
yeah, I think it still exists. Like, absolutely. Are we at an equal point of, kind of, men and women? Like, there's still the, gender pay, there's all of that sort of thing that goes on, right? I say to my nieces, that are, 14 and 16, that you have to be strong. You have to stand up for what you believe in. You have to, it's not like it's going to change overnight. I still think that we've still got a long road ahead. But, there's some pretty amazing, powerful, and impactful women out there. And I'd like to think, myself, we're women that are, here to make a difference and to make change and positive impact as well. And so that for me feels like the mission. So back to your point around, well, we have to ignore the white noise, right? And so I've had it myself, you've probably had it yourself, where you have been told, at times in your career that, you're not as good as this person, and I'm paraphrasing that, or, or you're compared to
Mm-hmm.
a male leader or whatever. But my whole philosophy on that is, well, who says? And so then it actually makes me want to go, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. And it gives me more energy. It gives me more strength to not just give up and give in and succumb to the noise. Um, so yeah, so I think there's a lot of equality, and there's a lot of male leaders out there that, really embrace and harness women,
Of
etc.
course.
But I do think there's still that hierarchical piece that goes on in certain industries, businesses, where you're just like, wow, is that really, does that really still exist? You know?
And it does, unfortunately. But I like to believe that the space this kind of people take are becoming smaller.
Agree.
So, I mean, like you said, it doesn't happen, overnight. It's decades and sometimes centuries for us to change. But I believe that we have, yes, conquered we have progressed in some points, especially because the new generation, like you mentioned, your nieces 14 and 16, they're totally empowered women. I was not like that when I was
No.
16. I was like dreaming and romanticizing about a life that was not real for women, you know. But today I have found a place for myself as a woman and as a professional that has given me the opportunity to reach out, not in, and you said something very important. It's not just the women, it's actually the men. Because I mean, if we're going to talk about change, we need to expand our, you know, ideas and conversations to them, because they are still the majority in the leadership, you
Yeah,
know,
100%.
chairs.
Yeah, 100%.
And we're kind of like, so yeah, and we already know about, we all women know about this. We don't need to like repeat it. It's just like old news for us. We need to bring in a new mind, new people like men to hear us out and be our allies, right? In this change that we're trying to, not a change, it's just obvious, we are equal. I mean, equal in any kinds of ways. It's just throughout history, we were put in some places that, because of beliefs because of fear, because of necessities, because of religion. I mean, we can go on and on about why we were put into these specific places, and we kind of accepted it
Yeah.
because that was our role,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah. Totally. It's interesting. I read an article, I can't remember if it was last night or the night before, but it was around the percentage, and I can't remember the percentage, but the percentage of women that are actually now choosing to, interestingly, even be single. Like they're kind of defying all the, cultural, like you get married, you have children, and they're choosing to be single, they're choosing to have children on their own, they're choosing their careers over, a partnership, but they're almost like, I can do all this on my own. And I looked at it and I went, well, that's really fascinating. I could see myself as potentially someone like that in a way. But then I also just thought to myself, is that like almost one extreme to the other? Do you know what I mean? Like what's the happy medium there
yeah,
in terms of, because having a career and that's it. I did that for many, many years and I was empty. I wasn't fulfilled. And so I think
yeah,
there's almost like the pendulum once swung too way too far to women sat, and like kind of from a hierarchical sense. Then we kind of went really, really crazy on DEI and everything, and the pendulum swung that way. The pendulum feels like it's swinging again, and so
yeah.
it still feels like for me it's shaping or being redefined. And especially someone like you working in STEM and tech and everything else, it's you must see a lot of innovation, a lot of things happening in businesses, which I think will also play a pivotal role in that redefining that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I just feel like
It
it's
makes it makes total no, it makes total sense.
mm, mm,
It makes total sense. And I think that's the actual, ideal that we need to reach, and it's very difficult because the pendulum, like you said, the pendulum, that's how the way the world turns,
yeah,
and it's necessary to have these extremes, but it's also extremely necessary to find, the middle.
yeah,
And and I think that especially for women, we kind of want to find a middle that generalizes everything, and that doesn't exist. I mean, what is the middle for you? Maybe it's not for me.
yeah,
So maybe I do want to have a crazy, you know, hectic life with 4 kids and a job and a home, and maybe that's for me. What's the being in balance is, but for you, it's not. But what I'm saying is the basis of everything in to start any kind of discussion is how can we as a society help women and any other person that is like behind on, let's say, on history and schedule because we were left behind, reach a point of satisfaction of what they want. And this is it's so difficult to answer this question because it's a personal search
oh yeah, it's
that
inward.
is reflecting
Yeah,
a whole society. Yeah, and then people, and we as human beings, we love to make it a standard for everybody, but we're not standard.
no, I
Human
love
beings are
that.
not
No,
standard.
we're all unique, authentic, and different. And like you say, your version of what like you just called out, like the 4 kids, the working, everything else. Like, I'm, like yeah, my version is probably, yeah, career. My mum thinks I'll never not work because that's just in me. Like in terms of, even she said, I just can't even imagine you retiring, or you'll always be doing something, right? But some people have got their
Yeah,
planned for they're going to retire at a certain age, whereas I haven't even thought about that because that's probably not in my DNA to think that way, right? So we're all different in terms of like the way we're set up. And then there's kind of for me that female male energy flow that flows within us,
That everybody has. We have that,
and men
and
have
they
it.
have that.
Yeah. And so how do we
Yeah, they
harness?
have it too.
Yeah. And so then how do we harness that so that we are collectively combining that energy? Because you need the male energy at times, you need the female energy at times. If you have too much
Of
of the male
course, of
energy,
course.
too forceful. If you have too much of the female energy, we can be, not making the decisions necessarily we need to make. We can be, in the intuition, wisdom, creative space, but we've got to get to like, so for me, it's kind of how do you pull all that together? Which takes me to a question for you with regards to your business and the businesses that you invest in, etc. Like, what's your starting point with these, women and their businesses? Like, is there almost like a criteria or starting with their foundations to really understand where they're at, with everything we're talking about right now? Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely there are some criteria. As first of all, of course, we search for businesses that have women founders and or leaderships, right? So women need to have enough participation to make decisions. This is very important to us because that's how we think that things will actually change. When we have men and women making decisions together, so this is the, first and foremost, this is basic for us. But we also look at the potential of the entrepreneurs, how much there is not just about the business itself.
no,
It's about the women that are leading it. Because if we need to pivot or change courses or whatever, I mean, if we put these women in one business, we can actually change it and they'll be successful in another one. So the potential of these entrepreneurs are very important to us,
yeah,
is very important. But also, of course, we do look at the business and we understand, okay, how much is this business how much is it capable of scaling, how much is it
yeah,
capable of impacting positively. We also look at that. I mean, for us it's very important for it to be beneficial
yeah,
to society,
yeah,
positive to society, bringing a good impact
yeah,
to society. And coincidentally or not, women usually are leading these kinds of
it's,
businesses.
yeah,
We kind of have this in us, in our nature, to kind of leave a legacy of better things, of a better world. It's a great asset of women, the characteristic of women,
mm,
and we kind of do that naturally. We are caretakers. I
yeah,
mean, somebody told us this one day, and we kind of
look at
took
that.
that as the truth. But I think it comes naturally to us to want to leave a better world for those who are coming, the
Into it.
generations who are coming after
Yeah,
us. And
yeah.
if and that doesn't mean if you're a mother or not. It's in us to
Oh,
be
100%.
caretakers and
Yeah,
leave something
yeah.
positive.
I'm not a mum, but like, yeah, I wear my heart on my sleeve. It's that heart-centered form of leadership, right? And it's coming through in all these different people I'm meeting on the pod in terms of, especially women, or all the women. Like men are also like they're very heart-centered, the ones that are coming on here. But there's this common theme around here
Uh,
to make that impact, that making things better. How do we take things forward in a way that is better for society, is better for business, is better for us, is like it fulfills us as well,
yeah,
right? Because there's nothing you probably come across some of these women and entrepreneurs that probably aren't as fulfilled as they should be or want to be. They're doing a great job in business, but you probably have that situation as well. And so how do you then
yeah.
get them to fill their cup up so that the business can flourish the way it's meant to flourish? Is that something that you encounter as well?
Oh yes, definitely. That is one of the biggest challenges. And I don't have the I don't have the answer like to that, but I can tell you what I see and what we try to work together as women, as a team. But yes, we tend to embrace so much as women. So that is one of the problems, because we were also told that we're like super women and we have all the power, and we're not going to succumb to, whatever comes our way. But we do, because we're made of flesh, blood, and so this is one of the things, is to make women real, first of all, to make them human. We're not programmed to be, Wonder Woman.
I love
we
that.
are we are women, and
Mm,
yeah,
I love
we
that.
cry, we laugh, we suffer, and we have our limitations. And to put a cape like we're heroines, it's something that, we need to start with that. Say, no, I'm not a perfect mother, I'm not a perfect entrepreneur, I'm not a perfect woman, I'm not a perfect professional. And sometimes seeking that is so exhausting that it's not healthy and it's not positive, and sometimes it doesn't take us where we want to.
No,
So
and
this is one of the first things that yeah, I'm sure a lot of women can sympathize with that, right? It's like, I have, especially I have a 14-year-old at home. I always say, listen, I'm not a perfect mother. I'm actually learning as we go. I have been a mother for 14 years, ever since you were born. So let's do this together, but do not expect me to be the perfect, sitcom mom. I'm not.
yeah, but what is
That does not exist.
no, it doesn't. And what is perfect, right? Like, the times I reflect on when I was told, stop being so emotional at, at work, or stop, you care too much. And I'm like, you know,
Oh,
and so then you put on this mask. I call it the mask. It's like, when you go to a concert
yeah,
and they come on stage, the whoever it is, the artist, the music artist. That's their
yeah,
presentation. That's their performer mask. And so I think quite often we've had these performer masks, but to your point, it's exhausting, and you almost become
it
like in
is.
my situation. Ice Queen. I kind of like didn't allow any vulnerability to shine through, because I didn't want to show people that I was, you know, vulnerable, and I wasn't feeling, at my best at times. But I reflect now, and really, I should have, I should have been more. Like, it was, I've always been a believer about being real and authentic. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it kind of really
I
does
agree.
start there. In terms of one couple of questions before we like let you go and have your evening, what you talked before around what you see as risks in terms of where we're at right now. What do you see as the top two biggest risks right now for women in business, and then what do you see as the two biggest opportunities? It doesn't need to be two; it could just be one risk.
Great.
Mm.
Um, just to conclude what you were saying,
Yeah.
we were saying about that being so tiring, and it's not sustainable.
No.
This is the most important thing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can go on until a certain point, and then we're just going, it's not sustainable. So we need to find, just to close
Yeah.
this discussion that we were talking about, how women can prosper. We need to actually know our limitations and know that
100%.
what is the sustainable way for us to keep on going, basically. Okay, so um uh let's say threats. Okay, I can talk about some threats, and I think this can be an example for women all over the world, not just like
Yeah.
what I see in Brazil. Um, but what I see around my business, and how these, these very strong positionings, these, that these leaders are saying, how this can reflect on decision making that can close some doors for diversity in general. Okay, not just women,
Mm.
but some companies have been, and then I'm talking about the corporate world, but they also invest in businesses. So um, how they're rethinking this agenda,
Yeah.
right? And how can this bring us back a few many steps,
Yeah.
right? Um, and when we have a political um, crisis or a political, you know, difference in what we have been saying and doing, the first ones to be, you know, harmed, the rights of women's are always taken away.
Mm.
So this is my biggest concern. All of what we have been doing for the past centuries, decades, years, how much is that going to be lost?
Mm.
If I mean, this is my concern.
Mm.
How much are we going to retrocess? What are we going to have? How much more are we going to have to work for that?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying is in everything, in terms of having a place of of speech, having a place of being heard and seen, and also of having money, because our businesses need to be funded.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree.
How much of this would be a priority? So I see this, all of this, actually, I gave you a lot of points, but a lot of these points for me are threats that we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to leave an observation of that TV series that just the last season came out, which is The Handmaid's Tale.
Ah.
That's what I'm most afraid of us having a chance of becoming what that was, taking away women's rights
Mm.
and going back centuries. I know that we won't let this happen, and we have male allies to help us. But and like I said in the beginning, as an opportunity, I see as an opportunity this moment for women to actually really come around, and because we're not going to be silenced anymore.
No.
So we're not the same women as in 1950s, 19 we've have tasted freedom. We have tasted independence. We have tasted power, actually. So we're not going to give that up easily. So I think this is the opportunity for us to even be stronger and more united as women, as allies, to actually say, listen, you have no power here. This is not going to happen. You can try, you can swim against the tide, but some changes do not go back. Some things don't go back.
We're going
So
forward.
this is like a conscious thing that we need to try to fight it all the time, because we've always been tried to be silenced, always have tried to silence us. But I think we're so much stronger now. We have so much more experience now, and we have so many people with us now that it is a chance. This is the opportunity to actually, be and say and put our feet down and say,
Yeah.
not
I love,
today,
yeah.
not now. It's not going to
And
change.
I love that, Carol. And I think for me, in short, is that we need to keep our blinkers off so that we can be aware and remain aware of what's going on around us. But, almost like you say, silence that white noise, because it's not taking one step forward, 8 steps backwards or 10 steps backwards. It's continuing to bounce forward. How do we continue to bounce forward in a way that we're making
Exactly.
the difference and the change? And so it's women like you, women like myself, that are, here to guide. And there's so many women out there doing this. So, as much as it is a crazy time in the world right now, I am one of those people that, believes in the endless possibilities. And, I do think that, yeah, I think that this is a real moment in time for us to pave the way forward. And
Yeah.
I leave that, as kind of our final thought. Lastly, do you have any final words of wisdom for any women out there who are thinking of starting their own business, or, kind of like, or even from a leadership perspective, looking to do something different? What would be your words of wisdom if they're hesitating just because of, everything we've talked about in terms of risks and threats right now? What would be your final words of wisdom?
That's great. And it has a lot to do with what we just talked about is take advantage of where we have the point we have reached. Women before us have paved this way, and I think we have come the furthest what we have not the furthest that we can achieve, but we have conquered so much. So it's to take advantage of what is in front of you and all the possibilities, because today nothing can stop us. So it's more of a of a one-on-one thing, like you with yourself. And
Mm.
if that's the only thing that's holding you back, I mean, it's up to you. So get in touch with your inner self. Take a look around at the world today and look how much we've come. Look at all the other women that have come before us, and we owe them this. We owe ourselves this. So something. Just speak to yourself. Do not listen to that sabotage, the self-sabotage that we are so constantly,
I know, the amygdala.
giving attention to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you can't do it. You're not good enough. Just F off.
Yeah, I was about to say
Tell
this.
it to,
I was about to say the same thing. I think
yeah,
that's like where
just, yeah, just send it that way, and just let's just do it, and don't be afraid or embarrassed to ask other people for help, other women for help, to have other people inspire you and be by your side. And I mean, of course we're going to be afraid. There's always fear involved. We're not going to eliminate that, but make that transform your fear into something like powerful that will make you go forward, and just F off everything that will
I
keep
love
you
that.
from doing
I love that.
it.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, you're such an amazing woman, and I've loved having this follow-up conversation with you. It's so complimentary to our first chat. And kind of interestingly, 4 weeks later, super timely, just with everything that keeps coming up in the world and on the political stage and everything else, and that fear
Yeah.
and scaredness that is kind of circulating right now. I will share how we can hear more about you and your words of wisdom, but also you're such a powerful businesswoman as well, and obviously juggling the
Mhm.
the family life too. So I just want to say a big huge thank you and have a lovely evening. Yeah, it's been a great catch up.
Thank you, B, for the two invitations. It was a really, really great pleasure being here with you and all your viewers, and being able to talk about such important subjects and current things that have been going on. And yes, please count on me if anybody needs to
Yeah,
contact me.
I will.
We can
I
leave
will.
my contact here. Yes, my email and everything. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for the invitation.
I'll be sharing that in the notes. But anyway, well, you have a wonderful evening and thank you again.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.